Okay, so we've got enough of the shop front modelled. If we have time later, I will show you how to modify the shop front to make it look like the existing shop front, and that'll be a good chance if we get time to look at the curtain wall tools. But since you're probably going to change it, it's not maybe critical that you model it exactly as it is. But again, if we get time, I will try to show you that. It's a good way of looking at those tools. But I'm going to move on for the time being and look at the other major element in the interior there, which is this existing structure. You don't need to do all of the walls and other things that are existing there, but you will need the main elements. And I don't know if you've been told whether you have to retain the structure. Oh, okay. So what about the columns? I'd be assuming negotiable. So they're going to need to put a new structure in.
Well, as in, like, you have to do like a doorways or something like that.
Yeah. So just think about, I mean, if you're going to change the columns, remember that they're there for a reason. And if you take the columns away, you're going to have to rebuild the whole interior of the building. So you'd have to do a new roof and work out the span there, which is fairly decent. It's 8 metres, and work out the structure needed to span across that distance and support everything. And it's a big distance. You need a fairly serious floor structure and roof and ceiling structure as well if you're going to span that distance. So the other option would be to put new columns in as well to break up that span. So either way, you'll need some sort of structure, and I think in most cases with interior design you make good use of the existing structure and focus on the other design elements you can change. So starting with these columns, you can see they're centred through the building, so why not use a column grid? So you have the grid tool, which is there for columns, basically. So I'm going to create a grid. It's similar to a reference plane, and I'm going to go through the midpoint of one of those lines and take it over to the right. And even though it's not shown on this drawing here, I'd be fairly sure that you have piers on the upper or on the different levels. And I did have some photos to see if we could see the interior. Bit hard to see there. Thought we had it in one of them, but here we go. What about this one? No, can't really see it. No. Anyhow, if you end up finding that there are piers there, you can easily add those based on the same approach. So I've got the column grid anyway, and then I'm going to stretch that so that it goes a bit further. And then again, using the grid tool, draw grid lines going the other way. So again, just through the midpoint of each of those columns. I'm going to rename the first one A, and then the other one 1, and then draw some more, oops, not reference planes, more grids. And notice how it picks up that the next one is 2. So stretching these through. And I'm really just doing this to show you a nice little option that you have with column grids. So I've only really got 3 columns to place anyway, but when you've got more, this option is really useful. So we're going to go in the sub-menu next to column and choose structural column. Load family, and then go to structural columns folder, concrete, and then concrete rectangular column. And then we need to know the size. So I did measure this, but I'll just double check. Okay, so just measuring in Autocad, you can see how handy it is having your Autocad file open. So there you can see it is 600 by 390. So edit type, duplicate, and we'll do it the same way they are, 390 by 600 mil. And type in my new sizes. Really important that you change the depth option to height, and then the height to, I'll just make it top of wall for now, and space to flip, and I could place these on the intersection of each of those grid lines. But another handy option is to choose at grids. Then I can simply choose all of those grids by making a window around them, and it's going to place a column on each one. So I'm going to click finish. You can see that they're rotated the wrong way, but I can simply select those now and use space to flip them all. So that gives me a basic structure. You can see now going through both levels. And then the walls at the rear that support the other wall, I'll just use the wall tool for those. So 390 across, they essentially are big columns, but again just using the wall tool's fine. So with the wall option, back to one of the existing walls, edit type, duplicate, and existing 390 wall. Again, location line, I'll flip to finish face interior and just trace. So I didn't change the thickness, did I? There we go. Make that 390. So top constraint up to level 1 is fine for now, and again just space to flip the walls as necessary. Don't worry about messages about overlapping walls. So there you can see, because of the way it's joining these walls, that they do end up overlapping. So that can be fixed back in the ground floor drawing. Dragging this away, and then using trim, joining this together. Again, we get the message, so if that keeps happening, you can join manually, but another option is just to select that wall, right click on the grip and choose disallow join, and then drag across, and then manually use the join option to reconnect those. So in 3D you can see that's getting better, but we've got this wall now projecting through to the interior, to the exterior. So you've got a few different options there. It's basically because of the join condition. Again, this one goes through to the end. So you can try using the wall joins option, but that gets a bit complicated. So a simpler way is to drag this one away. Again, I'll click OK when I get that message about joining. Right click and go to disallow join with the end of this wall, and now drag it back to where I want it to go. And you can see now this wall as well is extending beyond its grip at the end, so I'll right click on that and also choose disallow join. And now where I drag the end of the wall is where it will go to and remain there. So instead of letting Revit connect my walls, I'm manually dragging them to where I want them to finish, and then using the join tool here, you can just go and join each of those. So these should join. There we go. In plan it doesn't look any different, but in 3D you can see it's much better. So then finally these walls here need to be extended. By selecting each one, I can change, there we go, the top offset was still set to 700, so I'll take it back to 0. So that's right now, and they connect to the wall above, which is how they should be. So then the beams above should really be put in, but might leave that for now and just move on to the stairs. Because that will give you a good indication of the void area that's above these stairs. So here in the level 1 view with drawing inserted, I can't see the Autocad drawing anymore because the floor is covering it, but I can now go to wireframe, and there you can see again we've got a little issue with the walls there, which I can fix again by making sure this wall is again set to disallow join. So I can then drag the end and manually use join. Well, actually here again, before I do that, this one I can drag back now and then drag the other one across. So again, checking in 3D, that's better. And so back into level 1 with drawing, I can see the Autocad drawing under my floor, but I can't see it under the walls. So again, setting the detail level to fine there will take care of that. So we can see through the walls as well. And so then to draw my stairs, go to the ground floor with drawing and start counting them there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 to this landing. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 rises to the next story. And that's the way you should always set out your stairs. You need to know the total riser count and the floor-to-floor height, which we've already established with the levels. And so back to the ground floor plan, I can start counting. I start drawing my stairs using stair by sketch. So I'd recommend you always use that one unless you're doing a full step spiral. So stair by sketch on that drop down, try to avoid using stair by component. And so then make sure it's on run, line, and then going to check the properties here. So we've got 24 risers, I said, wasn't it? Yep. 26 was it? Yep, right, so 26. Here is the desired riser count. The width, I'll measure across there, so that's 1200. Oops. Oops. Just have to press escape sometimes to get out of the measure. So there we are, 1200 across, and should be ready to draw the stairs. So back to run, straight line, and I'm going to start by snapping to, well, I want to snap to the midpoint of this line, but it's too long. So instead I'm going to snap to the end of this line next to it, and then coming across, I didn't check, sorry, my tread. I'm pretty sure it's 250, but let's just measure it. So it is 250, so that's okay. So back to run, straight line, on that centre line. I'm going to come across and then go one more step than I need. So I'm going to do 13 risers there. Pressing escape a couple of times, I can select that all with a window, and using move it back to the right so it starts in the right place. Right, so it's good to set up things this way so that the flight finishes at exactly the point you need it to, so when you go to draw your next run, you can start again, so on this intersection, and come down to the end of that flight, and it should automatically put in a railing for you, Don't worry that it goes over the handrail here, that's how it should be. And again now the only problem there is that the riser height, so the tread dimension is different there. So I'll undo that one and measure the tread. So the treads, that's right, are different size here. So 278. So back to run, and I can change the tread dimension in properties there to 278. Now when this happens, if I change it in properties, it's going to try to change the previous one. So I'm just going to draw it with the same options. But take it to one step before what I need. Also before the end of that landing. So I've got the right number of risers, and then I'm going to use the align tool and extend each of these risers that way to the Autocad lines. So now back to run, and again from this intersection I can take it all the way across, and that should line up properly. And there we go. Okay, so I'll finish that, and so that looks pretty good. And then in the level 1 floor plan, you can see that I can only see the railing popping through the floor there, because the floor of course is covering all of the stair. And so a good way of selecting the floor there is to use tab to highlight the floor. If that doesn't work for you, you can always go to the section and select it there. Okay, so once you've selected the floor, then you'll see the edit boundary option. And I'm going to change back to the level 1 floor plan and then click edit boundary. And for now I'm just going to assume that the the floor finishes at the end of the stair. And then I'm going to choose the bottom of the railing there, because we've got the railing to come through a hole in the floor as well. And again, we can just assume that the line of the floor continues across the stairs there. So with trim to corner, I can join these new lines to the outer edge of my floor. So that's cut a hole in the floor. We'll cut a corner out of it. And so I'll finish that. Again, no, I don't want these walls to go up to this floor. That'll undo all of the work I did to set the heights of those walls properly before, so I'm going to say no. And now looking in the 3D view, you see we've got a nice hole through the floor where the stairs go. So one final thing, again, it'd be nice to have the beams in there, but it's not essential at this stage because you can put a ceiling in which will cover those in any case. And so I'll go to the ceiling plans to do these. So my ground floor ceiling plan, I'm going to create a ceiling, and there it's on automatic ceiling, and it's not being my friend and selecting that interior space because I've made this opening, and so it's not finding a boundary. So I'll go to sketch ceiling and use pick walls and just pick those outer walls. And I think I'll just follow the line there and take the ceiling through to the upper wall. I think that should do for now. So I'll actually leave that last one out then and use trim to corner just to join those together, just to give you a basic idea of that ceiling. And so just going to get that little corner bit, that's a little bit neat anyway, and there we go. So I'll finish that, not worrying too much about the height because I usually go to a section, and there you can see I've got the ceiling. I'm going to use the arrows on the keyboard to raise that up And you can see why it wasn't a problem to finish the ceiling in line with this wall, because I just have it slightly above, and actually could have it in line with the bottom of that wall exactly. So I'll use the align tool and choose that edge and then align it exactly with that. So I've got a bit of a gap there between the floor and the ceiling, but that's something you can make use of. You could also raise the ceiling for part of that, but I just want to give you a basic idea how to make ceilings. So checking that height there, you can see it's still almost 3.4 metres, which is fairly reasonable. And then the same on the upper level, so back to ceiling plan for level 1. And here, when I go to the ceiling tool, it should let me pick inside that area because it's an enclosed space. And the same with the office. So those ceilings are done. And I'll look in the section view to see them. So there are my two ceilings. And again, you've got a fair bit of freedom, I think, with your ceiling heights. I'll just raise that up fairly roughly. So it'd be nice to have a decent void through this floor and the ceiling so you can see that upper, higher level. And, oh yeah, so very last thing, I've got the ceilings in there now. So I might make a view that's going to show that interior space. I'll just duplicate my 3D view. Turn on the section box. Use that to crop. Maybe we'll go from, oh no, we'll go from this side. So I can see that interior fairly clearly, and then good trick there is just to hide that section box to get it out of the way. So it all looks okay, except the columns and the floors aren't joined very well. So there's no edge there. And so if you want to see that edge, simply use join. And then you can choose the column and the floor, and it just tidies up that intersection. And it'll be the same with your ceiling. So there you can see where the ceiling goes through. Again, the ceiling and the column can be joined. It doesn't take it away, so in between they'll still be there. But it's just a nice option to get your graphics a bit cleaner. So there we go. When you get to that point, you'll probably realise how much you do need to think about construction when you're working with a real existing space like this, because you'll see the gap, just trying to show you, between your ceiling and your floor. And so, won't spend too long on this, but the ceiling, you can see, needs to be modified back in the ground floor ceiling plan so that it follows the edge of your floor as well. So, this one we've got a split so that it can be joined at the top as well as the bottom. And so I won't show you how to clean that up. That's something you might have to research. And for interior design, that's really important, thinking about the connection between floors and how you can make it look cleaner than that. So there, where you've got a bulkhead and an exposed edge between your floor and your ceiling, that's a design opportunity where you can really make things improved on the current situation. But when you do your own shape there and make it a bigger void, you can maybe think about different ways of doing that. So anyhow, those are the main elements: walls, floors and ceilings. And make sure you think about your heights as you're doing those. Remember, this room is lower than I've drawn it. You have to lower that down, and you've also got the this section here, which has the lower section you can see in your plan. So you have to add in another level for those things. But worry about those afterwards. And so very final thing I promise is just to put in maybe a camera view. You can do these at any stage and get an idea how that's all starting to look in perspective. Okay, so there we are. So that'd be, a really good start and give you a good basis for adding your design.